Hagen was last week, they now have the chance to secure that spot, and picks and bans already started. I wonder if we're going to see H2K look towards this Varus Rumble, which has been so successful for Origen, and just start banning them away. There's one of them at least.
Yeah, Rumble is definitely almost first pick worthy in this matchup, almost.
Oh yeah, Odoamne, fantastic Rumble player. Soaz needs it as well to enable their physical poke champions for Peke in the mid lane if they want to have him on a champion where he can have an impact in the mid game, something we haven't seen too often when he plays the control mages.
I think putting pressure in terms of AD carry bans is good too, because you take out the Saber, which you really don't want on H2K, and you can leave them Kalista potentially, and then force them to decide what do you want more, Kalista or Rumble. See her lower in priority these days, but I think I don't think she's number 4 below Tristana and Corki. I still think she's number 2 in my opinion.
Right, it's just about the playstyle we see very often. Corki coming in as that poke champion. On the Origen side here, they need to make up their mind. Do we want to ban the Rumble, or do we risk H2K first picking it? Because there's still so many junglers open and they just ban it away.
So, Kalista first pick from H2K. It's the champion that fell off in priority in recent weeks, but it's popped up today.
Yeah, and are we going to see Jace in the mid lane? Because Varus, his counterpart 80 poke, you know, and then will we see those counters, you know, like Aurelia mid coming out later? We obviously won't see it in first pick. Almost, you know, entirely unlikely. First rotation Origen, maybe not, but then it starts going back and forth. You know, do you really want to pick it late? Are you going to secure it early? Are you going to give up your mid lane counter pick because you value it so highly?
You almost have to go Corki here as an early pick if you want the Jace, because now these top lane picks have been taken away in Rise and Rumble, which would again would allow you to mix up some damage.
Yep.
Both teams though, oh well, both teams, H2K looking to the support.
Well, support locked in for KaSing. 6 games played, 6 games won. KaSing is undefeated in summer on that champion.
Yep, making a name for himself here, and H2K can build anything with Thresh. Thresh is one piece fits all. Origen going for that early Corki. Like you said, the Fisho, you're angrily shaking your fist. Guys, you can't see it, so a descriptive manner. Imagine a very frustrated middle-aged man just shaking, those kids these days.
I just think this is such an important pick for Origen that I'm surprised H2K valued the Thresh over it. Of course they can go Kalista Thresh, fantastic 2v2 lane, that's probably what they're aiming for. This is just exactly what Origen wants to play, and as a team, when they didn't get these mid-game compositions, they have shown weaknesses. That's how they've been in this slump.
Yeah, but we've seen how H2K counters a long-range poke control mid. They put Ryu on TF and let him TP in behind. This is a much stronger opponent than when they pulled it off last time, but there is a possibility for Ryu to run that.
I mean, it's obviously not the end of the world. Again, Kalista is open, so it's not bad for H2K in that sense. This is a pick we have seen from Ryu quite a few times. Also into something like a Jace, or maybe if we're going to see a Twisted Fate pick coming in for Peke. Can obviously also swap to top lane. We see Odoamne already change summoners in case.
In response to the Rek'Sai pick from Origen, loulex just goes Gragas. Traditional, you know, tier 1 old school junglers, but I would have actually liked to see a Nidalee. I think she fits very well into Rek'Sai in terms of aggression. I think she fits well into the poke meta game as well. You can even go Nidalee Jace 10. Yeah. H2K going for a more brawler-heavy skirmish type of composition.
Except that loulex has not played any Nidalee at all. 7 games Rek'Sai, 7 games Gragas.
Nor should he prior to the rune glyphs, which that's where Nidalee came to the scene, and I would have liked to see her here.
Here's the thing though, loulex is a jungler who has honestly not been very good at applying early pressure. Yep. So do you want to pick him on a jungler where he has to have a great start? Or do you
gotta learn someday, the Fisio.
Sure. Or do you just want to play it safe, give him the Cinderhulk, you know, just let him scale up to late game, let him grow up to be a beautiful flower.
A beautiful flower.
Quite sure. Oktoberfest Gragas is not quite the flower we're looking for.
I think it's beautiful.
Lulu picked up in addition to Shen for Origen. Could be support, could be mid lane as well. If we go SK's style, you know, then it's Lulu Corki pushing in that bot lane with a Shen on top. Shen can also be support, flexing everywhere.
Yeah. Would almost expect it to be top lane Lulu for Soaz as a matchup into potential the Fizz, and you just turn it into a farm lane. And then again, you try and build around this strong mid game for Origen, also because Soaz absolutely hates playing Shen, and he's done for like multiple years.
That is true, but Origen flexing more than Deicio at the gym right now, and H2K a little flustered.
The problem with Origen's comp, as far as I can see, is slightly less damage than what H2K is bringing to the table. Fizz is scary.
Well, we're missing the mid lane.
Well,
potentially.
We are. Well,
Peke does like sitting mid and farming up and providing that damage later on. And Origen, they don't really need that damage because they have utility. We see H2K go full on skirmish. Skirmish 2v2 bot lane with the additional support coming in from Destiny. We have top lane Fizz right now locked in. We did a good 2v2 Fizz Gragas, pretty strong. So a lot of carry potential. But once you put all those pieces together, it doesn't really, you know, work all that well.
And that's the first time that we're seeing Odoamne on that top lane Fizz as well. We'll see how he can control that lane. For Origen, I really feel like they need a high damage mid laner here.
Or a control mage to just group up
Yeah.
and just secure objective after objective after objective.
Right, and Azir and Viktor would add in everything you need. Then you have the wave clear, you have high damage, you have great scaling coming in, and you're already building for team fighting, so you got to stick to that. Don't try and match H2K in the 1-3-1 setup here, because that's going to be so difficult for you to deal with the picks you already have logged in.
And obviously, anybody out there is going to say, but hey guys, what about so much magic damage? Corki, so much magic damage, Lulu, and Azir, isn't that a little overboard? You have to still look at H2K's side. They're only running one tank. Those compositions, it's okay-ish to run full magic damage into, so Origen definitely will have to be careful. They'll need their Void Staffs later in the game to you'll penetrate that locket aura, so to say, but H2K could have some scaling advantages in that regard.
Especially, again, split pushing wise, Fizz is going to be a monster. We know the Kalista in terms of one-on-one potential, the 2v2 with the Thresh. But as you also mentioned before here with the magic damage, something we've talked about obviously before the show started, with how these compositions that want a team fight in the mid game anyway, the goal is not to go 50 minutes into the game where there is enough magic. No, the goal is to get that big advantage through the dragon fights to stack it up.
And if you watch LPL, very often you will see these teams fight around red buff randomly 5-man.
I mean, why not?
Minutes in the game because you want to get those early fights because you don't want to outscale. Let's see if Origen bring this early aggression to the table though. Historically speaking, when they do well if they get ahead, but if they play slowly to the mid game, this composition may fall flat.
Yeah. Origen, if they are behind at 20 minutes, have lost every single game so far. 4 out of 4 games where they're behind 20 minutes, done deal.
If they fall behind, guys, the draft is done. It's time to load in as H2K and Origen are fighting for second place in the summer split.
Last time we played them, they didn't know exactly what kind of team we were and what we played. So that game, we kind of had them in the pick and ban phase.
H2K in full retreat as Peke jumps over the wall. Origen, they're doing everything right all across the map.
If they stay like this, if they get nervous from this lose because it's something that can affect you, we actually have a lot of chances because they didn't play properly.
Origen, they're looking to end it right now.
I don't know, we're not in a really good spot right now, but we're just gonna look to focus and try hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the Rift. I'm going to ask you to jump on Twitter. Who will take second place or challenge for it? Hashtag H2K win, hashtag OG win. As we can see the team starting off 40 seconds, fanning themselves out. No indications for early warding, which you've seen from both teams a few times.
It's very true, but we need to look at these lanes here, because for Origen, top lane wise, Lulu's gonna do more than fine into the Fizz, especially in the early game, just to turn into a farm lane. The problem is more the bottom lane here, the 2v2 for you with the Shen is so risky for Origen to opt into.
Definitely so. At the same time, Odoamne is running Ignite, which tilts these matchups into all-in potential.
Right.
Especially when loulex shows up. That is what you have to look for.
Obviously better than the Smite, so the 2v2 in that case for H2K is fairly strong, but the early damage, early poke from Soaz on this Lulu here, he should always be able to have the advantage, at least before the 2v2 starts in that sense. So I believe that's why Origen is okay taking the standard lanes, and we might just see Amazing play around this no flash top laner and see if Origen can bullet it out the 2v2 and use that early advantage they could have with the Lulu.
Yeah, I want to see one of these waves meet after this double camp taken by both these teams. What approach is Origen's bot lane going to take? Are you going to lose gracefully, which means tanking auto attacks and forcing the lane push? Or are you going to race for level 2? Because if you land that taunt, it's very easy to land that Corki Q on top of Kalista and you win an initial trade.
That's really the interesting thing about Shen support. You have great early stats, like the first 2 levels as well.
So I had to interrupt you there. Those were beautiful golems. See how they're spaced out.
Now you have it.
Second Flay finishes off small golem. This is what dreams are made of. And because of that, they are first in the race to level 2.
And everyone lost 1 melee minion in the start of this, so Mithy and Niels as well have to just respect the fact they're already losing to double ranged in the early trade. But yeah, Shen, early levels, great base stats for him. The first few ranks he gets in his abilities he can use, but he needs to all in. In that case, he has to taunt forward with the passive and Q, and that's where it becomes super tricky. One bad trade, and you basically chunk down.
And in the mid lane, the first few levels, you don't really expect the jungler, so Rio is sacrificing some trades for push advantage. So he wants pressure, and this could open up You know, loulex for an easier invade and to find maybe amazing.
And this is what we see so often with Twisted Fate players. What you do is you trade with the red card in the early game, like level 1, because you want to try and push the wave in. Viktor, though, once he gets like a few ranks in his E, he's going to start shoving it back very easily. And then Origen has to do a fantastic job keeping wards around his mid lane to keep track of Rio, to stop that potential snowball that can happen in the two side lanes with Kalista and Fizz.
I'm looking forward to seeing how these side lanes start to impact the rest of the game when you consider all of the globals in this game. Rek'Sai and Shen on the side of Origen with the teleport. Obviously for H2K, teleport, Fizz, and the Twisted Fate. So when a party happens in the next 5 minutes, everyone is invited.
Now looking at the pathing here, loulex started on the left side of his jungle, so that indicates that he's not going to play around Odoamne early. So he comes out on the right side for the potential counter ganking in mid lane. But if that didn't really happen, then he obviously, Odoamne would be in a little trouble. Hook goes on Niels' play. Passive from Kalista, good.
Good trade. We see the Shadow Dash taunt coming out. Hjarnan getting a lot of auto attacks down. And this Kalista into Corki matchup in favor of Hjarnan and KaSing. Obviously the level advantage, catching a good hook as well.
You will get slapped around in that lane. All that matters is whether you can get the CS or not. And we have to look at how well Niels can CS under tower.
So there's some of your stats on the games. Niels Corki, 5 played. To Fisher, you mentioned in Picks and Bans how important it was for Origen to get that sort of mid-game power champion, but something that Origen have made mistakes with this champion in the past. They wait for Triforce, and only when Triforce is done do they decide to actually begin playing the game.
Right, and the reason that can be bad for Origen is you get that first dragon around 15, 16 minutes, and then suddenly this snowball, we can almost call it, towards 5 dragons is very delayed for them. It allows H2K then to scale up longer.
It removes Aspect as a win condition. If you go for that very late dragon, if you wait for your power spikes, Corki has to fight earlier than that if that's your approach to the game.
And it is a misunderstanding for a lot of people that Trinity Force, that's your power spike only. Get it, don't do anything before it. Sheen Fate as well. Once you hit level 6, you have fantastic trades. You can take these early fights. Viktor as well is a champion that is so fantastic to itemize on because you have so many items you can go for in the early game. Getting Hex Core is a very gold efficient item, so it makes you fairly strong already early in the mid game if you want to use his zone and obviously, of course, his AoE damage to take these early fights around objectives.
Taking stock of the situations, I think both teams are relatively happy with how this is playing out. Niels is CSing okay on the tower. He's now down 10, 13 CS over in the bot lane, but over in the top lane, same time Odoamne, even CS against Lulu, you would expect that to be more in Soaz's advantage. So Origen kind of trailing behind, trying to lose gracefully or win a little better.
Odoamne's going to have that playful trickster. Amazing's not looking for the gank, but the one thing we do notice, Krepo, is every time we look at that middle lane, Peke is trying to chunk out Ryu and built himself up a small CS lead. Amazing turns away from the jungle once he gets spotted by the Wolf Spirit, rather. And going to get chunked down. Odoamne puts a lot of damage, but no Chumma Waters. Amazing gets out.
And that's a 2v2 advantage we have on the top lane. Ignite Fizz plus Gragas will always beat out Lulu and Rek'Sai. However, they have utility to stay safe. And once this guy hits level 6, that's the problem. Ryu will join, and then he can just straight up dive Soaz.
H2K just saw the invade coming in from Amazing, and that's why Ryu was moving, and they could jump into that 2v2, didn't have to worry about anything. Bottom lane, though, again, trading.
But he'll have to flash, maybe.
The death sentence does. Exhaust comes out. Hjarnan's holding the trigger on those Ren stacks. Decides not to pull them, and Mithy lucky to get away without taking a big burst of damage.
Again, he is fairly tanky in the early game, but yeah, this is what happens over and over. If you don't land that taunt, the Shen simply cannot add a whole lot of value in the laning phase, that is.
And KaSing hesitates with his Ignite. Either you pop Ignite, force the flash on the Shen, but then you overextend into a long trade in which your AD carry is under siege, under fire, so that's maybe why he wants to hold that Ignite. Yes, maybe Mithy flashes, but in the end you will lose your lane control. Niels is now out of mana. They're pressured in, and they still have all their offensive tools available, just waiting for the next hook. It's a little wide. Not quite Angelina Jolie. Can't really curve that hook.
It'll happen at some point, Krepo, I believe.
What we still need to see, though, from Origen here is where is Amazing gonna put his pressure? He's been mid lane once, he invaded into place of deep ward to potentially set up a gank in top lane. Obviously, want to look for loulex and the counter gank coming in. Twisted Fate has hit level 6 now. On the side of Rio, so it becomes even more difficult for Amazing to find a target. We might just see them say, you know what? We're just going to keep laning like this because we know Peke can keep shoving mid lane. And as long as we keep the Twisted Fate under his tower, he can't really port away without losing it. And that's the way you play against these globals here. You pressure them in lane so they're stuck sitting way too far back, and if they ever TP away, they will lose something. That's what Origen has to be able to do when playing against Ryu here.
And obviously this pressure is manifesting in a big lead. Origen trailing behind on their side lanes kind of because Fizz is going even / beating their opponent on Soaz. The bot lane's winning, but Peke, he's ahead in CS right now, 78-64, so that's like the saving grace. Amazing is still looking for that first opportunity with that pressure. They want to deny this blue buff from Ryu.
I really like this play here from Origen. They know in a straight up massive engage with Amazing, with the nuke coming in from Viktor as well. They can take this and force H2K away. So no blue buff for Ryu. Very important for Twisted Fate in the early game. He gets it because he uses quite a lot of mana.
And they use the push advantage from Soaz on the top lane to move him around that blue buff, secure that. Now Origens want to take a double buff advantage that they can use maybe for a dragon fight right after. Remember, Mithy, he just hit level 6, I believe, so Stand United will be coming out.
Well, gentlemen, we're getting closer and closer to the point that these globals are going to become relevant. And H2K have been playing standard lanes, something that they don't do very often in the split. A lot of their games are in lane swaps. Origen, roughly half their games. Going even, and for H2K, let's see how they handle themselves, because we talked about the graphics and the stats. Win lane, win game is a little bit more of the mantra from H2K. They're not doing it yet.
Well, no, they're not doing it yet. However, they were waiting for certain cooldowns, like the Stand United from Mithy. That allows them now to play more aggressive on the opposite side of the map. Corki is one of these AD carries who can just sit on his own. Obviously, you're talking about H2K. I'm talking about Origen right here.
But it counts for both these teams.
Counts for both teams.
But the one saving grace, recently H2K relies on that, win lane, win game type of mentality, but the mantra back in early stages of Summer Split was the 10 to 20 minute mark. This is where H2K historically shined through like a bright diamond, and they started winning these macro level plays, mostly involving lane swaps. Let's see if they can open up the map again with Odoamne and Ryu. They have to take down Soaz eventually. That should be their main approach, because grouping up for Dragon Fight, in my opinion, is playing into Origen's strengths.
And it's playing into something Origen have standardized the last few weeks. Waiting for those Corki power spikes. We touched on it 10 minutes ago. And for Origen, they've split their games as of H2K. Both teams 3-3 in the last couple of weeks. We can see Amazing. Amazing's been invading multiple times. He has stolen away a blue buff. This time around, doesn't get anything.
Notice the way Mithy is moving around. Again, Corki is hit level 6, so he can start farming on his own with rockets. And the way you want to use Shen is not by sitting next to AD carry the entire game long. You're not here to babysit him. You can start roaming with the jungler, you have great ganking pressure with your taunt, and then you have that global ulti in case your AD carry needs it, or maybe you want to set up a dive on the opposite side of the map in the top lane. So we see Mithy already leave the lane, start invading, placing a few deep wards here and there. Just hasn't really used it for anything because we're still fairly early in the game.
And obviously, if there's one AD carry you want to do that with, it's Corki, because he farms so well on his own due to the merit of the rockets and the phosphorus bomb coming out. You could easily leave a Corki in lane and he will get about 70% of the CS, if not all, under tower. Amazing right now. Tremor Sense is live for loulex.
Little thing here from Ryu. Something we see more and more Twisted Fate players do. Obviously cooldown reduction boots. And then you go for these early home guards. They start enabling you to set up some of these ganks. And the first one,
wow. Soaz gets away from Chum the Waters, but he's not going to get away from the gold card. I think it timed out. Wild Growth comes up. Ryu's in trouble. First blood secured by Amazing. They're not done yet. Origen are looking for Odoamne. They taste something fishy. Glitterlance is going to get fired out in a moment, and kill secured for Soaz.
Massive mistake from H2K. loulex will flash away and stay alive, but when you're playing against Shen, you cannot make these plays here when it's even numbers at first, because you know he's going to join in. The only response now is by trying to take down this bot lane tower. Let's see what Corki can do. I mean, it's still full HP.
Gonna go for it. That's a lantern. Niels with an early falc. Complete fake. It's Hjarnan that's in trouble. Fate's call is going to lop KaSing back onto Niels. Fox is going to connect. Niels looking for more. Does have flash. Decides to back away.
Niels did pay attention in elementary school math classes. He knows 3 people were involved in that top lane, so there was no potential lantern going anywhere. He knew it was a fake, so he could just turn on Hjarnan right there. But just overall, Origen using these teleports and their globals to counter H2K's aggression is fantastic to see.
loulex, the cost.
Flash.
And a knock pick at a safety.
So they use the teleports, but also they've been pushing the top and mid lane almost all game long. They've been gonna take a bot lane tower for themselves. So basically what happened, that push in the mid lane before the gank even arrived. Top lane was pushed in, and Amazing was already sitting ready on the top side, expecting the gank. So instantly, 4 members ready, and at the same time, you're denying minions from H2K while they're leaving the lanes, and their towers clear up the rest.
And honestly, that play was almost due to Soaz's pathing. Instead of pathing up and trying to escape towards his tower, he realized all I need to do is buy time, meet up with my jungler eventually, because I have Stand United to my disposal, and then you just go into the enemy tower, you juke Ryu, because Ryu was stuck, had to flash over all the way. Gold card timed out, and then suddenly Shen comes into the double dive. Beautiful pathing by Soaz, and as a team, Origen are looking strong.
And even if he just got stunned, you have Lulu ulti.
Yeah, he will survive.
Shield, Shen ulti. I mean, you have so many things to buy enough time, and H2K had full vision of where Amazing were, how Peke was moving, and yet they committed to it. I was just about to praise Ryu for home guards very early on. I like it because it allows you to very quickly, go for a gank, use up all your mana, go back to base, and go back and fast push and so on. Top lane now.
loulex is hiding, he wants to find Niels. Oh, he is almost up.
Support. Destiny's coming out. Niels is going to Valk away from Chum the Waters.
Mid lane going down now.
H2K throw everything top and get nothing for it.
That's the worst execution of that play I've seen. Just let loulex come out of the brush with body slam. Don't cast your ulti because it's so telegraphed. The animation is dodgeable. But if loulex dashes out first, you knock somebody up. Then you can connect the fish. Then Ryu can land. So what a misplay from H2K.
H2K made a play up top that didn't work out. It cost H2K control in this game. Amazing and Soaz looking to run down Hjarnan. The wild growth has been used. No Odoamne is teleported in. There's no Chum the Waters. Amazing has decided to turn it back around. Stand United from Mithy. Going to connect with the taunt. Well done, KaSing. You've got a death sentence, but it may not matter. Flash forward. Mithy gets a kill credit. Hjarnan's hopping, skipping, and jumping away as KaSing's going to chase down Soaz on the back. A double taunt into a kill for Hjarnan. Now Origen overcommits.
Well, it's 2 kills, but they get a mid tower, so it's still worth it for Origen again. They keep pushing every single lane, and they have this Shen to always turn to find KaSing. Oh, okay.
KaSing, ka-ching, this time for Peke.
And Amazing is doing the same.
And Amazing's gone, so a little bit of lack of focus maybe from some of these players.
Safe to say, both KaSing and Amazing definitely shouldn't have stayed around, or for KaSing just walk carelessly into this mid lane where Viktor is already sitting.
The difference right now is for Origen, every play is tied to an objective. If it works, we get pushed on towers. If it doesn't, we still have pressure somewhere along the map. H2K are merely reacting to these plays, and we have a big deja vu there. Shen ultimate coming in again, almost taking down Odoamne. Because he managed to escape on 1 HP, he forced Mithy flash, and then the chaos that ensued. H2K picked up a couple of kills, but they sacrificed yet another tower. 3 towers to 0 is something you would have never really said against H2K at the start of the split.
Origen mid-game, though, this time around, they're doing really, really well. We saw their goal graphs before here, how H2K have only been even at 10 minutes in 3 games, and at 20 minutes, they've never been even. The entire split long, they've only been either very far ahead of you or very far behind. This game, with the way it's going right now, it's going to be the worst.
With the current gold lead that Origen have, statistically speaking, if they keep this up to 20 minutes, it'll equal a 95% win rate. It's going to get hurt as death sentence will be going down. Niels gets caught out.
That was
two-man game.
2 flashes and a ghost used to get an AD carry. Let's see if H2K can carry this momentum into an objective, because otherwise they're expending a lot of summoners. Should be able to knock on that bottom lane tower, but Peke is moving over to defend bot lane, and they might send somebody over to hold mid lane potentially.
Still a big and unnecessary mistake from Niels. He was the only lane pushing, standing way too far up, and this time around Origen didn't have map pressure. We might see another fight though. loulex getting caught.
He's the one that's been caught, invading for a blue buff. Kill goes to Mithy.
I like what Mithy did there. He blocked the body slam, then taunted. Even though he got knocked back, he basically dragged loulex farther away, and then it was an easy setup to finish him off. He still has flash available, but couldn't get out there in time. Good pick off by Origen.
We're seeing quite some misplays though from the players here in terms of the positioning, which fights they want to engage on. Origen might even look for more. But the thing we have seen again is why having these fast wave clear champions is so important in this current meta here, because Origen has 3 lanes that can push really quickly at once. That allows you to rotate a lot faster, because you can instant clear the wave, start moving into the jungle, start setting up a potential dive or a counter gank, and that's what they've been using so effectively to always punish H2K whenever they try to go for something, and also deny the minions.
Wave clear and tempo are just making the game easier to play. If you're a struggling new team, getting more wave clear in there just makes everything just go a lot quicker. H2K have to play near perfect with this composition in terms of skirmishes, getting the Ryu to land in the right position, but so far I don't think we've seen a good Destiny from Ryu where he lands instantly stun somebody. Always somebody on Origen's side manages to flash out, force Ryu flash, buy enough time for either Shen ulti or cross-map pressure to come out.
And Krepo, because of the fact that Ryu has tried multiple Destinies and failed, he's actually down 50 CS to Peke. There's big CS deficit. The gold is around 600. Luckily for Ryu, he has secured a few kills from some positional errors in Origen, but those Destinies not paying off.
And what is Peke building right now? It seems like he's going straight for the death cap, just to snowball on top of those upgrades with CDR boots. Did he get a third upgrade already?
He did for himself. So basically, what we see on Viktor players now is instead of going for, you know, upgrade your first Hex core, then you build a Morel Normicon, so you start delaying your late game items, and Morel Normicon is often seen as more of a lane item, and because you're already getting the Hex core, you're spending a lot of gold there. You just go for the cooldown reduction boots, and you instantly start rushing into Death Cap Void Staff, and you just maximize your scaling and late game damage as fast as possible. And I really like that because you get enough cooldown reduction from your boots.
And we look at Ryu, he's posturing for teleport up top. loulex was hovering around Odoamne. We talked about this 2v2 being strong and that they need to use it to their advantage. Amazing is just shadowing this lane. He's defending his weak side, so Origen can thrive on the stronger side. Ryu obviously is getting pushed in the mid, so he can no longer stay in his Destiny position. He has to go back to the mid lane, and Origen hanging on where they're weak, and then exploiting that to their advantage. Remember, Shen ulti is still available. That's why H2K is not going for any of these dives. And I feel, looking at champ select, perhaps it would have been wiser to ban out the Shen somewhere if you're really going to go for this global push, because if a support pick can counter your mid lane pick this hard, you will lose map control, and in turn give up a lot of dragons.
Until this game, Soaz nor Mithy had played that Shen, so maybe even H2K forgetting about it a little. Dragon number 2 secured as we continue to see Origen accelerate small leads in gold and map pressure. They're 2 towers up, 2 dragons up, they're heading kills. Everything's looking good for the current number 2.
Yeah, we're gonna get a 25-minute third dragon for Origen, so we'll be slightly delayed as again one of the win conditions for them. But if you look at the minimap, we're gonna notice H2K have put so much focus on defensive pink wards to enable these roams between them, and of course enable Ryu to start teleporting. I would like to see Origen try and contest it, because you are so far ahead in the mid lane, with Peke always shoving in that lane. Try and go in here, get a few wards around the lane in the mid, so you can see Ryu when he's moving to the side. It's easier for you then to counter play it.
Yeah, but the safety of those pink wards allowed H2K to kind of close the gold gap right now. If you see, it's only 1.7k. It was a lot bigger earlier. Origen's obsession, I wouldn't call it, but just prioritization of the dragon allowed H2K to come back a little bit, so they still have that skirmish and duo potential right now. So the Origen will have to play a tight mid game.
Yeah, especially also because Amazing has gone for Warrior Enchant on this Rek'Sai here, so he wants that early mid game pressure. They gotta use it now to contest some of this defensive vision if they want to start really taking over the map. The further you shove a TF down into his own base, the less he can do, and the more obvious it is when he's ganking.
Talking about ganking, you can see loulex setting himself up for a potential dive, decides against it. I really want to just mention how much CS Peke is accrued. Nearly 240 at 21 minutes. That's 10 to 11 CS averaging 10 to CS 11 a minute. Damn it, words are hard.
Usually,
it's a lot of CS.
Usually 10 CS a minute is nice,
Krepo.
but 21 minutes to be at 244. Let me do the math for you, Trevor. That's about 34 more CS than one would be expecting, so he's well on his way to break the record. However, at the start of this game, we saw Invade coming out from Amazing on those buffs. We saw Deep Vision. This was pushing H2K back into uncomfortable position, basically guaranteeing like forced errors. Right now, H2K's vision control is forward. Origen haven't really crossed that river all too much. Niels' Corki power spike completely negated, so H2K are putting a band-aid on their problems right now.
I almost feel like Origen is saying, okay, we got the 2 early dragons, let's wait for Peke to complete one of these big items he's building towards. We both have components for Loot and Zeko, and then the Death Cap as well. Loot and Zeko build is something we also see more and more in Victus, because it gives you 10% movement speed, extra wave clear, and it allows you to roam very effectively between the lanes and have more impact before these big 5-on-5 team fights. But Origen gotta start using it. They had the good advantage. Your mid laner can one-shot basically everyone on the side of H2K at this point, or at least once you complete the item. And you got that Corki here. Deny some of this vision. Don't just allow H2K to take over the map.
I think they should take a page out of, honestly, H2K's book and put the Corki in the mid lane, but the problem is Viktor is such an immobile champion, if you want to call that low mobility. Call it what you want. He gets caught up pretty easily, so you kind of want him in the mid lane too. So you're wanting 2 champions that thrive in mid lane in the mid game. As Peke speeds out and clears that wave instantly.
Manages to get Ryu's Ghost as well. The one thing that does play into Peke and maybe even Niels' favor, whichever lane they decide to hang about in, there is a teleport from Soaz available. Amazing can get there on Rek'Sai and Mithy as well with Stand United, but Odoamne has gone unchecked for a long time. He's also farming up a storm.
Yeah, the problem for Origen is Odoamne can 1v1 anyone. The problem for Odoamne is there'll never be a 1v1. There's either a Stand United or a teleport going out. However, he still has that pressure, and you see, nobody really wants to deal with it. We saw Soaz leave the lane. He's like, guys, somebody else would like to 1v1 Fizz right now? Nope. Okay, I'll go back.
What we might see, though, is as long as Odoamne gets the one-on-one against Soaz, he nullifies the teleport. And then if you have Rio, because he's been having, honestly, a fine time the last few minutes in the mid lane, just shoving out the wave, joining, then it's a 2v2 where it's against the support on the side of Origen. And that's where Origen might not be able to punish him because they haven't been pushing the lanes ever since that mid-game lead, and it's such a big problem for them.
And you hit the nail on the head right there. Not pushing their lanes eventually manifests into losing those tier 1 towers. They had a lead in terms of towers, 3-0. It's now 3-2. And Origen aren't looking to be setting up any plays. I think the next 1 minute will be crucial, indicative of whether Origen want to expand their vision control around Dragon, if they're really going for that 5 dragons as win condition, or what their approach actually is to the game, if they actually have one.
Gentlemen, the approach that H2K had for the first 15 minutes has stalled. They opted to try some Destiny ganks with Twisted Fate. It didn't work. H2K have not tried that again. They're content farming. They're content slowly getting those towers. And with Ryu completing his Hourglass, the option to jump into a fight and set something up is slightly more likely.
All right, pattern here. Ryu uses Destiny. H2K fall behind. Ryu hasn't used Destiny in the last... 9 minutes.
It's
H2K
science.
goes back. Ryu, unbind the R key. This is your key to victory.
Somebody who doesn't need to unbind his R key, just returning to this middle lane. 290 CS at 24 minutes. xPeke is still doing phenomenal. Picking up a lot of that defense. And I guess the longer that mid tower stands, the happier Origen will be to prevent some of H2K invading their jungle.
Right, obviously taking down the mid tower is important for H2K, but again, it's not even the main objective right now. It's the fact that you get Odoamne to just continue sit and scaling up on this Fizz in the split pushing role. Rio as well for himself has not been pressured, and you were so far behind at some point, and now you are just apparently getting allowed to farm back into the game. Yeah, I know you can go 5 dragons for Origen, but we are still talking 18 minutes before they hit that point.
We had this comparison in the office earlier this week where we compared playstyle, stats, and similarities in terms of CS at 10, gold leads, and we came to the conclusion that xPeke is Froggen. And this is another confirmation of that statement, because it's so Froggen-esque to just completely annihilate your opponent in the mid lane and just eventually translate that pressure into the mid game. However, can Origen use xPeke better than Elements can use Froggen? That is the question right now.
Origen seem to have control of the Dragon Pit Krepo. They've at least got some control. 0 contest from H2K. That is number 3.
That
12
means
minutes
12
until
minutes.
Aspect. And there's a banner of command here for Mithy Shen. We'll need to see if that can help control some of these side lanes. Ryu's Destinied in. Niels is Valked away.
Teleport on the top side of the top right of the corner. Somebody's gonna flank.
Peke, Chaos Storm's gonna need to come down, and it will, but it's not gonna be enough. Hjarnan's got himself a kill. H2K, what can they do with the numbers advantage? Wild Growth is on Niels. Hjarnan gets a double. Now Soaz is in trouble. Forced to flash over the wall. H2K may be able to crack open the tower, or look for something juicier. What is their call?
Well, we see this again, though, from Origen. After they take an objective, they kind of reset the map, and some of them is just standing in the middle of lanes. They're not really doing a whole lot. Instant reaction for H2K. Peke didn't even manage to use his ulti. He's so strong at the moment, but he didn't get to do a whole lot of damage. H2K instantly wins the fight. 2 towers down. They don't care about your 3 dragons. They're ready to fight for the next one anyway.
Because H2K just farmed their lanes for so long, it looked like Origen just completely forgot about the flying potential. Let's watch this again. Ryu had already used Destiny at this point. He's coming in top right of your screen. Just keep that watching your minimap. Stun goes down on xPeke. Here's Odoamne. Mist Cleanse is very, very big, even though afterwards Odoamne couldn't.
Sorry, gentlemen. Amazing is now in trouble. Wild Growth comes up, but the Rend will be enough with another pierce. Hjarnan gets another kill. You were saying, Krepo.
Yeah, a lot of action. Not done just yet, so they decide to AFK farm for 10 minutes. Then right when I'm making a single point, keep on fighting. Damn you, H2K. But they're doing the right thing. They hit their spike, they got a beautiful opening, and now they keep the aggression on. They don't want to get Origen into position where they can start pushing those lanes back again. And honestly, it's going well. And Odoamne is getting bigger and bigger right now. On that Triforce Banshee spike, with the Ignite available, big split push there.
And I would like to just update our Ryu uses R. It's not effective. It now was effective.
What? Okay.
Oh, come on, why not?
Debatable.
Well, the team fight got 2 towers. I mean,
part of it.
Yeah, of course he was.
I think Odoamne's teleport was bigger in that fight, but yes.
It was a good zoning. It was a zoning
destiny.
for
zoning destiny.
Niels had to walk down, and then suddenly he was caught out a little bit, and that was fine. But again, for H2K, they've been allowed to do whatever they wanted for the last few minutes. To get a locket as well now on the side of loulex, something we mentioned champs like how important it is versus basically almost pure AP on the side of Origen. If you look at the carries, and then half of the Corki. So very important items in that case. For them, obviously amazing is trying to build up some of the physical damage with the warrior enchant.
Odoamne.
Not going to connect with Chum the Waters once more. Destiny from Ryu. Okay, we're back to the status quo.
Is that a Scuttle Crab? Yes, that's the only thing preventing from complete dominance over vision control, or was rather. Scuttle Crab goes down, Crying Orb gets used, finds only 1. So OG knows that H2K is baiting, they just bought themselves 30 seconds.
Now very quickly, when H2K were down at 20 minutes, they've only come back in 1 of the 3 games where they were down. So statistics are not on their side. They've currently got the gold lead. They didn't go for the Baron play, but they were threatening it. Origen had to respond.
And this is why you buy a Scrying Orb on your AD carry in the mid game. No Trinket could have done what Niels just did there. He bought 30 seconds, enough to push the mid lane. Then enough in turn to force H2K to go mid. Odoamne flanking though.
Gonna get the playful Trickster, applies the slow. Mithy gets knocked backwards into a death sentence, and Ryu secures the kill. That's the support down.
Just a little bit too much. Origen stopped the Baron, cleaned some vision, but then just overextended and just... They're not respecting the pick potential of H2K right now.
No, not respecting the flank from Odoamne. First the teleport in mid lane, then him just moving down from the top lane. You had full vision of him because he just cleared a wave. H2K again now with the goal lead for themselves. Getting more and more items completed. Hjarnan is getting fairly fed in this Kalista.
Yeah, we talked about it. Is Corki worth prioritizing over Kalista? Obviously, it's easy to talk in hindsight, but right now for H2K, no, you know, well, pick Kalista first.
Oh, Hjarnan!
Never mind, Corki is the best champion. Thanks down Kalista.
There we go.
A single rocket is all he needed.
All Niels, by the way.
He set that one up. So Peke shows what can be done with the 350 CS.
We have some caster curse right here. Let's just say there's no way H2K can steal this.
Krepo, what have you done? Peke is going to try zone away loulex. He's chunked below half. Baron's being secured. Ryu, Destiny's available, but he will not use it. Origen, get the Baron.
So
good call.
Called it.
Super analysis.
About the Corki pick though, if we go back to like the first 10-15 minutes of the game, it worked really well in the setup for Origen. We knew they wanted to contest these dragons in the mid game, and also they had that AD carry who could solo farm with the Shen TPing away. So it really made a lot of sense for them. Now obviously because Origen as a team then didn't push the lead, H2K came back, and then suddenly Peke decides, okay, I've been farming for about what, 30 minutes?
The problem with this pick is usually you can use Corki as a tool to put pressure in the mid lane and put your mid laner bot. This is what H2K usually likes to do, but because you have Viktor and Corki that both like being in the mid lane, Origen should have probably grouped them in the mid lane earlier, and this is what they're doing right now. Obviously they have the help of Baron minions. It's easier, and the buffed up caster minion.
But that's exactly what they should have done with the Viktor, with the Corki, with the what's it called, amazing as well on Rek'Sai. You had such a strong team.
Niels is caught, but he's going to be able to flash away. Sorry to cut you off, Fisher. We saw the Destiny from Ryu. Origen up, peeling top.
That was a good flash, by the way, because not Mithy, KaSing was ready with the Flay on the Valkyrie, but because Niels flashed sideways, that Flay couldn't come out. Then he Valks out. If you Valk first and then flash, you will get interrupted and get picked off. So that was a good move by Niels, flashing to the side and then Valkyring upwards.
Still got that Baron buff. Dragon is alive. You've been working towards it for such a long time in this game. Amazing though.
He's going to get hooked up.
TP as well behind.
Backwards. That's a 2-man play. I think that's an Ignite burning as well. Odoamne is looking for a target. Playful Trickster does not get over the wall. That is a giant Niels. He's going to Valk in defense. We do see the fight continuing to break out. Odoamne is forced to back away. Nobody's down yet. Cleanse comes out from Peke, and we see Hjarnan clearing out that minion wave. Amazing. The only victim of the fight.
Honestly, poor target prio from H2K. Odoamne goes back downwards to chase the top laner when he just completely ignores the AD carry that's in the middle. Eventually Niels gets bounced in, but that only facilitates Soaz's wild growth right there. And Origen can be a little lucky getting out of there, but this is the one big engage tool. Destiny combined with teleports is what H2K need to open up this map. However, they pick up the first dragon now. Oh, Hjarnan.
Super worth it though. Dragon number one.
Should have went into the pit.
And it delays aspect of the Dragon from Origen for an additional 12 minutes.
How much can Origen take though from this? 35 seconds on Hjarnan. They're already down here with 4 members. Amazing. Already sits with ulti ready. There's a tunnel at the Raptor camp, so the Wolf camp he can always join in. So if Origen can take a mid tower away from this, even though they lost the potential 5 dragons, that's obviously super annoying for them, they might be able to at least push into the base of H2K.
Your wildcards mean nothing to me, says the kind of minion. Niels, so
Shun the Waters this time connects when Niels is in melee range on his Corki. Odoamne is going in. That's a decent explosive cast from loulex, but he dies for the trouble. Death Sentence connects on Niels, and he will be going down as well. Chaos Storm is hurting, but Origen back away 1 for 1.
Niels is eating every single hook from KaSing lately, and every time he lands it, H2K sees an opening to engage. I think Ryu as well could almost have picked up a triple kill there if he didn't miss his wildcards in the very end of the fight. So H2K defend the tower, they got the dragon. Both teams keep going back and forth here against each other.
And loulex, well, we gave him some flack in the early game for not really getting anything done, even in a 2v2 in the top lane. He has had some really impressive explosive cast last fight. Knocked Niels forward at least 2 or 3 times to my straight up memory. So he's definitely doing better in these mid game fights. That's what he needs to do, just isolate team fight. So these skirmishers can take down 1 target at a time and then tear their way through them. And then just Hjarnan, he wants to get the reset on the E, so he can keep chunking out people with that runedowns.
And of course, we did see Peke picking up his own blue buff. So much AP to play with on that Viktor. 730. Luden's completed. Death cap. I think that's a maxed out hex for as well. Perfect indeed. This time, Death Sentence does not connect.
Origen though really needs Niels to watch out in these fights here. The fact he's getting singled out so many times by KaSing is a massive problem because you need these 2 carries to stay together. Peke and Niels with the backup from Soaz, and then kite back a little bit when H2K is teleporting in, engaging, because the all-in from H2K is fairly strong in that sense, but if you can kite back, avoid the all-in potential, you have more damage.
So Niels just spent some money on an elixir. I would have liked to see that become a null magic mantle, just straight up QSS. I think if he finishes that item, then he can negate those hooks, and if you land a hook, your entire team is inclined to move forward. If then QSS comes out, you get baited in, you lose the fight. It could definitely be a crucial item. Hopefully he picks it up, because obviously support Shen is not going to build Mikhail's Crucible. Complete waste of stats.
See that as Mithy has his sitting on that Kindle gem. A lot of damage picked up, and we've not really seen Odoamne split pushing for the last 10 or so minutes. Been a lot more focused on sticking with his team. Teleporting in for a couple of those fights.
Yeah, that's the key thing. He's been teleporting for the fights. That means he don't really want to go on split push because he's obviously afraid of Origen. Then for a quick root, we see what they can do. Buffing on mid.
That was so close.
Might get someone else on the side.
He just finished Frozen Heart. loulex, why would you build Frozen Heart against this lineup?
This is purely just against...
I mean, are you that afraid of the Corki plus Pixie auto attacks coming out?
I mean, so there's a lot of stats in the Frozen Heart he likes.
Yes, but it's full armor against the full magic.
It is. I'm trying to see with Odoamne here. So obviously,
glass is always half full, right, for sure.
The Corki pick is very built around being able to auto attack to deal the necessary physical damage for Origen. That is somewhat going to get shut down. Obviously, also with the Rek'Sai, with the Warrior enchant. So that should be basically the reason for Odoamne building it here. Obviously, he wants more MR at this point.
I will wait for another legal learning on Jad. Perhaps he can prove why this item build is good. Because I don't see it. I don't see the Frozen Heart really working out here. Yes, it's good to shut down the physical aspect of the enemy team if you're done shutting down the magical aspect. You know, if you stack, everybody's on 200 MR, I love it. Nice Frozen Heart, but not quite yet there.
But I see a locket. It's enough.
This is why we're color casters and you play-by-play.
Gentlemen, Baron is up in 30 seconds. A Dragon is a minute and a half. And with the exception of players being a little caught out under objectives, that's where we've seen most of the battles. Origen have got decent vision around Baron this time around, some deep wards as well, so that should help them out.
H2K is good at split pushing and flanking, but face checking straight into the Origen lineup gets punished very quickly. Whimsy speeds anybody up, control mage on Viktor. They really can punish these choke points. However, we obviously have Destiny on the side of H2K, so no face check should be made before Scrying Orb and Destiny are both expended.
But just taking out that ulti from Ryu could be very important for Origen.
Yep.
That has been one of the problems, that Ryu could teleport in with Odoamne, and you could get to that backline of Origen so quick. We keep mentioning how Origen wants to cut it first. There's the first ulti from Ryu. Odoamne is nearby, but now ulti's gone.
And Soaz, he went from bot to mid because he saw Odoamne in the mid lane, so that's puts him as mid lane pressure here. Amazing, it's fished out.
So Amazing's in a little bit of trouble, but H2K decide not to fully engage. Chum the waters was not enough. Mithy's looking for somebody to taunt. He does have flash available, and Ryu has been left somewhat alone.
Force the ghost.
He's trying to look for more. So summon spell used.
Always gotta respect that taunt flash. He could have pulled off. So yeah, got one summoner.
I was like seeing mind games here. Mithy just taunt forward and then have a preemptive flash come out of the enemy. Let's see if he lands it. Taunt.
No!
Misses.
Between the goalposts! How do you miss the fat man? Evidently like that.
He's a beautiful flower. You don't want to taunt that, Trevor.
No flower trampled in this exchange. Alright, Origen back to square one. They're baiting right now. Usually H2K phase X slowly, but they use the scrying orb immediately. Baron's going down quickly though.
Again, still no ulti for Rio here, so H2K has to just engage head on if they want to fight. Amazing though, going in.
Origen are going to be turning this fight around. Fate's call is up. Hjarnan's on the back line, throwing out those spears. Ren will secure the first kill of the fight. The Chaos Storm trying to reply for Origen. So far, it's a 1-for-0 in favor of H2K. Ryu goes golden. He's got no support. The Lantern is there. He gets the Lantern! No, but the Pixie follows through. 1-for-1 mid for jungle.
Look how hard it is though for H2K suddenly to get onto the carries because they didn't have the ulti from Ryu. Didn't have anywhere to TP for Odoamne, so they only got Amazing down. They're back though to try and stop this one.
KaSing and loulex are in trouble. It's a flash forward from xPeke. He's got himself another kill onto KaSing. Odoamne is in and amongst everybody. Hjarnan gets turned into a munchkin, and he gets munched by Origen. Odoamne, one more playful trickster. It is not enough. 2 more kills to Origen.
Really like how quickly Origen realizes, oh, Kalista is standing over there. Let's all ignore Odoamne and just instantly switch it over. Hjarnan goes down. This is what Origen were looking for. Bait out some of these globals here so there's no threat to your backline. And then you're what? 10,000 AP xPeke? He'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, late game in these teamfights, yes, Lulu doesn't provide that much damage, but she has utility and she can negate so much damage, whether it comes to the knockups, shields, but more importantly, using that polymorph on top of Hjarnan here. And this initial fight is just how these fights play out. loulex watches explosive cast. This is good peel. Body slam flash was bad though. Then he peeled. Yeah. He's taking 3 carries out, but trading his life, so H2K trade frontline. But I want you to keep your eyes on Niels, what he does after this with the flash board proc.
He gets onto Rio and forces obviously the hourglass, but big mistake from loulex not getting one of these squishy targets. Look down here, left corner as well. We can see how Origen has just picked up the 4th dragon. In the end, Soaz says, nope, you're not getting away from this one. And this is just such a big difference for Origen in how they want to play these fights. H2K not able to execute it.
So as you mentioned, Official, in the little picture-in-picture clip, Origen secured their 4th dragon. They're 6 minutes away from Aspect. And thanks to the Baron and team fights, Origen are once again in a sizable lead. As we're about to hit 41 minutes. During that replay as well, the observers poked me and mentioned that all 3 of Niels' deaths have resulted because of KaSing's death sentences. It's something that Official and Krepo, you mentioned earlier in the game. And Krepo, QSS is secured for Niels now.
But Niels is one step ahead. He realizes he gets caught so often that he can't even flash out anymore. So now he's just flashing in forward, making the plays. That's what he did. He got Rio, was like, no, guys, I'm one step ahead. Now I got my QSS too. Offense very often is the best defense.
But he's Origen. I mean, it's all about picking anyway, in terms of the damage.
You lure in the fish.
Yeah.
There's the beautiful metaphor here. And somewhere, all in the between, it's a flower.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Alright, buff that minion.
I think these metaphors need a little bit of work, gents. Yeah. But Origen, they got pushed away the last time they tried this siege because of a death sentence. This time Niels was wise enough to back away, and Hjarnan gets chunked out by that death ray. Look at the minions down bottom. I think that Banter of Command empowered minion will be shoving. Origen crack open the base and get the first inhibitor at 42 minutes.
Wonder where they're going to rotate next. Oh,
look, that's Bob's nephew, Frank Tank. I love buffed up Karen. 2 of them! Dos! Now this is what dreams for support are made of. You're like, usually I don't help turret pushes. No. These are 2 minions, so many that have actually ran out of names, so people don't like name them whatever they want. And of course, let's see how much damage they do to these towers. No wildcards. These minions are magic immune. The only person that can take these down is Hjarnan with Renounce, but he has to walk into so much poke. This is disgusting. Disgustingly beautiful.
Elixir as well for himself.
Is that 3?
That's tower.
Is that 3?
Where's that third one come from?
It might just be 2 sieges and 2 banners.
It's 2. I think the last one here is just that.
It's an imposter.
He's trying.
Wow.
Not as cool though.
Those barrels don't help. You can smite them.
These cannon minions have done almost more damage to structures than H2K have as a team. Great play from Origen. Gonna secure themselves another inhibitor in a moment or 2.
Hey man, all cannons must die and serve and all. Here we go, team fight.
Soaz is thrown down. The hourglass. Odoamne has hopped in. He's hopped out. The explosive cast has knocked amazing in. The Chaos Storm is wreaking havoc across H2K's backline. Hjarnan gets 1, but it is simply not enough. Frank the Tank and Bob's cousin doing all the help for Origen. They're onto the Nexus turrets. They're taking it down. Ryu's trying to go for one last play. It will not be enough. With Origen taking out the Nexus, they are qualified for the semi-finals and have booked their tickets to Stockholm.
With 2 banner of command cannon creeps. Let's not forget the important part of this victory. Yes, sure, they may have locked in for 2nd place.
Who cares?
Who cares? Shen support, turnaround ganks. Strategically, it's like Origen stopped shot calling the mid game. So guys, let's practice our early game. Good. Strategically, like dismantled H2K. Like, let's take our foot off the pedal. Peke, you're still farming in the middle. And SKK, we lose mid game. That's fine. Late game, go back again and just dismantle them again.
Yeah, due to that very, very well or great executed early game from them, they could make a few mistakes and obviously still keep it fairly even. Not the way you want to play it if you are Origen, but we got to see the late game, just the difference. When Ryu and Odoamne were not able to TP in a flank to get that back line, Peke got to be the big carry, just like Froggen, funny enough, back in the day as well.
What worries me the most is not that H2K lost there, but some of the plays they set up as a team before, they were working so well in unison. Remember those dives from H2K coming out, those map-wide plays, everybody was on the same page, but multiple ganks this game. Destiny kind of off, you know, body slam or Fizz ulti, giving away the intent of the play, having people Valkyrie or flash out prematurely, and then just losing all that momentum immediately. And Origen used that to cross map, you know, tower left side, tower right side, eventually mid lane tower. xPeke farmed up a storm.
Yeah, from the Chaos Storm, that's for sure. For Origen, just to remind everybody, they are in a guaranteed 2nd place. They cannot drop. They're into the semi-finals. Regardless of how that match plays out, they will be in Stockholm either for the final or for the 3rd, 4th playoff. It's very important to note that they are now playing for either to win the summer split and make it to Worlds, or to get as high as possible in the playoff bracket for championship points to then make it into the regional qualifier. Myself and Stress will talk about that a little later today, but for Origen, guaranteed top 2 in their first split in the LCS.
You know what that means?
Tell me what that means.
Eternal support tomorrow. Fnatic did it too.
You have to do it, man. If you don't play for anything, well, they play for Fnatic though. Play for I think the Eternal support had its moments, had its beauty, but I'm not expecting to see it a whole lot in playoffs.
So, Origen, as we've said, playoffs, they are 2nd place. The bracket is actually populated. We want to show you guys at home and just remind you of the teams that are already locked in. Fnatic and Origen now 1 and 2. H2K, Unicorns, they're in playoffs, but we need 2 more teams to fill that out.
I'm very, yeah, the masochists out there, no tiebreakers just yet. No poor casters having to do overtime, but they're well...
Jinx that one.
I'm just going to curse it. I like me some tiebreakers.
We all do.
Just some good old champion swaps, you know, Nivea Blitzcrank, the likes of that. Perhaps we can see teams just go delirious and do the same thing later on. Well, we'll see.
Well, the next game is going to be super important for that particular matchup, Elements and Gambit. If Elements 2-0, they also have a possibility. They need other teams to 0-2, but maybe they can claw their way out. I predicted it on PTL. So we'll see if they can prove me wrong.
I mean, Elements as a team, if you look at the schedule here, facing Gambit, who's obviously not having Forgiven as the AD carry at the moment, they're going to be favorites to win that game. And that should at least give them a tiebreaker to get into playoffs.
What I would like to mention, if we just quickly come back to this matchup, H2K are losing some of their spark. They looked phenomenal at the beginning of the split, and the last 3 weeks have been struggling a little bit more and more and more. If they can resolve those problems for playoffs, great. We heard from Prolly saying, if we're in quarterfinals, you know what, no worries. It's an extra BO5, it's more games.
That's one way to look at it.
It feels
hey guys, we get more practice going to the final.
What they need.
I think, though, we just see the shot calling for H2K. I think we praised them for so much when KaSing joined, how we basically call them the best shot calling team.
Best macro team, 10 to 20
macro
minutes.
team and everything. right now, some of the plays you were highlighting with these ganks that were setting up is like, you pop that TF ulti, you see 3 guys top lane and a Shen ulti, and nobody's like, no. It's like, okay, go. And these are the kind of mistakes you cannot make when you face Origen. And of course, if you face Fnatic, which they might end up facing at some point to fight in the playoffs. And that's really something they have to fix. It was, I think we praised them for. It seems like it kind of stopped for H2K because they never really had like the, what should we call it, like the best player on each position in Europe. So
it's always about the sum of the parts.
Right, it was about the team, the shot calling and everything. And that seems to lag a little bit behind some of the other teams at the moment.
And one part of the winning team, Soaz here, he went 4-1-11 on that Lulu, and he was facing the toughest task because he was playing against the Fizz Gragas combo in the top lane. So he could get 2v2'd. In addition to that, Ryu could show up anytime. So him working together with Amazing managed to survive long enough until Stan United came alive. And then turn around these plays is honestly what propelled Origen into the mid game very well. And this is coming into the split, we were asking questions, you know, is Soaz still, you know, top LCS level? Obviously, he'll always be LCS level as long as he plays the game. But so far, yeah, he did well. Some really good, you know, whimsies for speeding up his teammates or hexes and just polymorphs. Everything came out well for him. Wild Ghost too, so good play.
And again, Peke showing that he can show up. As the split has gone on, Peke has looked better and better and better. He dealt more damage than both Ryu and Hjarnan combined. I mean, that is a phenomenal stat. Now, it helps when you know, averaging, what was it, 11 CS a minute? I forgot to do math, but
math is
fantastic performance. And it's just, it feels like Origen are the only other team in Europe that when a primary carry is struggling a little, somebody else picks up the slack.
Yeah. It's often the triple threat, even with the Lulu obviously not being the main damage dealer. Niels didn't have the greatest game. He was caught a lot. So Peke had to pick up the slack.
Did not need to. So Origen will be taking second place, and we're going to head over to the analyst desk to break down that game.